I hate to say it, but the show told us the truth from the very beginning. Not directly, not clearly, but it was always there, hiding in plain sight. Because DTF St. Louis was never really asking who killed Floyd Smernitch. It was asking something much more uncomfortable. Why did Floyd Smernitch die, even when nobody pulled the trigger? And once you see it that way, episode 7 stops being a mystery and starts feeling like a slow, inevitable collapse. The finale opens with that line, "No one's normal." It just looks that way from across the street. At first, it sounds like a joke, a commentary on all the weird, hidden lives people are living behind closed doors, the affairs, the secrets, the strange desires. And sure, the show leans into that. Even the detectives, Homer and Plum, end the case talking about all the bizarre things they've uncovered, almost like they've peeked behind a curtain they can't close again. But that line isn't really about kink or secrets. It's about distance, the distance between how we see people and who they actually are. Because look at Floyd. To Clark, Floyd was light, the guy who made everything feel easier, kinder, warmer, the kind of person who would literally lose sleep over hurting someone's feelings. To Carol, he was more complicated, still loving, still kind, but also frustrating, a man who walked away from stability, who avoided responsibility, who felt stuck. And to us, he was charming, funny, almost magnetic. But inside, Floyd was none of those things. Inside, Floyd hated himself. And this is where the show gets brutally honest. Floyd's entire arc isn't about the affair. It isn't even about his marriage. It's about self-perception. Because no matter how much love existed around him, he couldn't feel it. Not really. He saw himself as unattractive, as a failure, as someone fundamentally unworthy of being loved. And when someone believes that deeply enough, they start collecting evidence to prove it. Every awkward moment, every mistake, every rejection, even things that aren't really rejection at all. Now here's where Richard comes in. And this is the part a lot of people misunderstood, because if you're looking for a killer, the show almost tricks you into pointing at him. But Richard didn't kill Floyd. He just became the moment that Floyd couldn't recover from. Think about their relationship. Floyd didn't just tolerate Richard, he fought for him. Even after Richard physically hurt him, even after being pushed away again and again, Floyd kept trying. Why? Because Richard mattered. Because winning Richard over meant something deeper. It meant Floyd wasn't a failure. It meant he could still be loved. And for a brief moment, it worked. Richard had a good day, a breakthrough. Something finally shifted. And that should have been the turning point. But then everything collapsed at once. Richard finds the profile. He sees a version of Floyd that doesn't match the man he was starting to trust. Then he goes to the pool and he sees it with his own eyes. Clark, Floyd, the betrayal. And here's the thing the show never spells out, but you can feel it. It doesn't matter what Richard said. Maybe he insulted him. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he just looked at him differently. Sometimes that's worse. Because in Floyd's mind, that moment confirmed everything he already believed, that he was a disappointment, that he ruins things, that even when something good starts, he will destroy it. And the most painful part, it wasn't about losing Carol. It wasn't even about losing Clark. It was about losing Richard. That was the line he couldn't cross back from. So when Floyd walks away that night, drinks the rest of that amphezyne-laced cocktail, that's not a sudden decision. That's the final step in a thought process that's been building all season. Quietly, painfully, inevitably. And this is why the mystery was never really a mystery. The missing details, the red herrings, the suspicion around Carol, the strange clues, they weren't there to hide the truth. They were there to show how easily we misunderstand people. Just like the detectives did. Just like we did. We judged Carol based on fragments. We assumed things about her character because of a few bad moments. But in reality, she wasn't covering up a murder. She was protecting something much more fragile and complicated. The truth. Because if Floyd's death is ruled a suicide, everything changes. Financially, emotionally, socially. So she deflects. She misleads. She plays a role. Not because she's guilty, but because she's scared. And that's the hidden design of the entire show. It forces you to build conclusions from incomplete information and then quietly dismantles them. Not to shock you, but to humble you. By the time we reach the final moments, Clark sitting alone, everything gone, it becomes clear that Floyd wasn't the only one lost. Clark didn't lose his life, but he lost everything else. His family, his stability, his identity. And what's left? Just silence. And maybe that's the most devastating idea the show leaves us with. That loneliness doesn't always look like isolation. Clark had a family. Floyd had people who cared about him, but both of them felt alone in ways they couldn't explain or fix, even together. Because that's the truth DTF St. Louis keeps circling back to. You can be surrounded by love and still feel completely disconnected from it. You can have people who see the best in you and still only believe the worst about yourself. So no, Richard didn't kill Floyd. Carol didn't kill Floyd. Even Clark didn't kill Floyd. Floyd died in a space that no one else could reach, a space built from self-doubt, shame, and the quiet belief that he was never enough. And that's why the ending feels so heavy, because there's no villain to blame, no clean resolution, just a truth that's a little too real. And maybe that's what the show was trying to say all along. We don't really know people, not fully, not even the ones we love. Because from across the street, everything always looks normal.